Let's talk about the tools I'm not using. And the first tool I want to talk about in color grading is curves. You've probably seen a lot of Photoshop tutorials on YouTube where the curves are used for color grading, or even levels are used for color grading. Why I don't use them? Because I don't really like the color results that are given to me, and I don't really have the comfort that I have, for example, with color balance, because these two tools could be comparable because we have the same channels. We have, of course, the channel blue and yellow, we have the cyan and red, we have magenta and green. And we have the same ones in the color balance, though color balance do this better because we have the shadows, highlights, and midtones, of course. So it gives us a lot of comfort. That's why I'm using this. And I want to show you how the curves works for those who want to use them. And it's nothing more simple. Remember to change blending mode into color if you don't want to affect the lights and shadows, of course. And we have three different channels. We have red, green, and blue. So the curves is connected with two. We have primary colors like blue, and the secondary color will be yellow to this color. We have green, which when you go up with curve, it will fill it with green, and go down, it will go magenta colors. And then when you look at the curves, we have two spots. One is on the left very bottom, and this represents the shadows, and the top right one represents the highlights. So if you apply the effect on the top, so if you go up with a primary color green and go up, your highlights will be filled with color green. If you go down with your secondary color magenta here, as you can see, the shadows are getting filled with magenta. So that's how curves works. For this image, probably the best way to go would be work with blue, trying to achieve similar results. And what I would do, I would just slightly a little blue into the shadows, as you can see, and go down over here trying to apply some yellow into the highlights. And the other step I would do with the red. With the red, I would go a little bit cyans on the shadows and up with just a little bit red of the highlights. But I just don't really like the result it's giving me. I like to work separately with masks, and I feel working with masks and applying the curves would be too troublesome. But one rule is like, it doesn't really matter what you're going to use, because but by everything you can achieve similar, if not the same results. So that's my processing, very soft, and that would be the curves, maybe a little bit more. If I would do a little bit more work, probably I would get very close to this result I'm having here. So this is the first tool I'm not using, and it's just the personal preference. I don't really like sometimes the coloring it's giving me, but if I would spend a little bit more work, I could achieve the same result. So remember, there is no any rule what works better than other. The thing is personal preference and understanding each tool and understanding the colors, how they work. So the primary and secondary colors that you have over here, and working between them, because your work is based a lot on the blues, yellows, reds, greens, magentas, cyans. These 6 colors are dominating your work in Photoshop, and switching between these colors that gives you the colors in between them. So this is the first tool. And the other thing I want to show you, you could ask me, I was working separately for shadows and highlights in the tones over here. And you could ask me why I didn't use, for example, gradient map, which allows me to separate shadows and highlights and allows me for manipulation. So let's try if I could achieve something like that. And I believe I could. So once again, personal preference. I would go with shadow, and shadow I would go with the hue around 2015 and this soft blue color for it, trying to find the right saturation and luminance. Of course, we want the top left corner, we add in more luminance, and over here, of course, we can apply more saturation. So I will go somewhere in between, not too harsh. And then for the highlights, I will choose the orangey color, the hue around 35. And once again, I want to apply some soft, nice tone for it. Let's hit OK first, and I'm going to change blending mode to color and lower opacity down to 10. Because of course I don't want that strong effect. What I notice right now, there is too much blue, and because the shadows usually dominate in your image compared to the color I applied to the highlights. So what I would do, I will try to extend the range to 75% maybe of my highlights, as you can see, and then I will try to hit OK, and as you can see, the effect is much better and it's not that far from the effect I created before. So no matter how you work, the thing you have to remember is how the colors work. Use the color theories, the color harmonies, and know how the color works. You can do more corrections with selective color, which I will be talking in the other examples for sure. But these tools I presented you in these lessons are absolutely a lot and enough to do solid color grading, no matter what you're going to work with.